coming to give a presentation. And we also have a very nice gentleman from the SBA coming to talk about SBA loans. So if you or any of your friends have questions about SBA loans, August 14th, he will be here to present and to answer questions. And the following meeting will be September 11th, and we do not have anything planned at this moment for September 11th. So before we go to the treasurer, I think I'm going to introduce Councilwoman Park and let her say a few words. She's still
Can
here.
you
There you
hear
are.
me?
There you are. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, thanks. I can't see myself on the screen, so really lovely to be here with you. Thank you to all of your board members for the ongoing partnership and collaboration, and to everyone joining us this evening. I know you have a packed agenda, so I won't take too long. I really just wanted to come by and say hello and let you know that even though council is in recess and City Hall is basically dark until August, and Arus is enjoying some very much needed time off, I am still around and we are still cranking behind the scenes. Just a few updates on Palisades specific things. We are now at or exceeded 90% of residential lots cleared. PCH is open. We know that it is slow and annoying, and we know that folks are frustrated about the speeding tickets. But do be mindful that they are out there to keep the area safe. There remains a lot of heavy utility and other work on and around PCH. So everybody just know they're out there and be patient when you are commuting through the area. We are starting to see more and more families returning to the Palisades, and we are looking forward to at least having some schools open this fall. We already have some big plans underway for the rec center and the library, and we are starting to see more and more new homes and buildings going up. You may remember that CD11 conducted a town hall with DWP a couple of weeks ago. We had a great turnout and a lot of discussion about undergrounding, infrastructure upgrades, and the Santa Ynez Reservoir. We have that recording available. It was in the last newsletter, which you can grab on the CD11 website. Once I get into a different format, I'll see if I can drop that link for you in the chat too. One of the big announcements from that town hall is that after more than a decade of community engagement and advocacy, we were really pleased to report that the proposed distribution station 104 next to Marquez Elementary is not going to be moving forward. So we are really, really pleased with that update from DWP. I am also working with DWP to get that sign taken down that says, "Welcome to the potential future site for DS 104. I can't believe that thing has been out there, giving you all the middle finger all these years. So we are going to get that thing finally removed, long overdue. Speaking of DWP, they opened a new customer support site for fire recovery. They have been housed at the rec center in Palisades for the last 6 months. Part of the reason they have been able to work as quickly as they have is because they have been staged right there in the heart of the Palisades. We have been very happy to have them, and we are also very happy to see them go. We know you want your rec center back. More on that in just a moment. So DWP is relocating over to PCH and Topanga. You can drop by in person with customer service or utility concerns, water or power issues, or infrastructure issues related to the rebuild process. So rec center upgrades. Wanted to let you know a few big things. The playground is now done, and we are looking forward to a reopening, probably going to be towards the end of this month. We'll do a ribbon cutting ceremony, and really looking forward to having you back there. The actual rec center, the full rebuild is moving forward. We expect groundbreaking in January of 26. The bocce courts, we are super excited to show some momentum and progress on. We got the right of entry approved, so now the contractor can get to work on it. With respect to the library, a temporary space is going to be installed near the old gym next month. So we're going to have computers and study space, Wi-Fi, printing, community rooms, and more. At the old gym, roof repairs are in progress, and RAP is going to use that space through December. And then we are going to transition them over to a temporary facility near the library while we do the upgrades on the old gym. And then the tennis and baseball courts are both going to be rehabbed through the summer, probably done by September. And everything going according to plan, we are looking at having programming there restored in the fall. So that is all forward momentum, and any step forward that isn't a step backward is a good one, in my opinion. So a lot of work happening on the ground and a lot of progress in the Palisades. So now on to the big ticket item for tonight, because I know that's why you're all here, at least the folks who are tuning in to listen, and that is Senator Allen's proposed Senate Bill 549 and the potential creation of a resilient building authority. I know this subject has been extremely controversial over the last couple of weeks, and I have personally been in very close contact with Senator Allen and his team about it. So to set the stage for this, just so that everybody has the same set of information, this was a recommendation that came from the county's Blue Ribbon Commission, which released its report several weeks ago. And there were some pending legislative deadlines. And I sent out an email, you may remember, I think it was back at the beginning of July, letting you folks know that this report had been released and that I thought it was really important that people be aware that these conversations were happening. Senator Allen, in order to preserve timelines and deadlines that were pending at the state level, introduced Senate Bill 549 as a placeholder. And I don't want to speak for him. He'll be joining us in a little bit, and you'll hear directly from him. With the hopes that we could do some community engagement and talk about these issues. I was not satisfied that enough of you knew about it, even that there was a Blue Ribbon Commission, or that it had made any recommendations at all, or that there were efforts underway to begin the process of implementing some of those. I have been very clear, I hope, to all of you in my communications that, in my view, this recovery needs to be community-led and government-supported. And that means a lot of transparency and engagement. And I just didn't think enough of that had happened here before the legislative process began. And so I sent a letter to Senator Allen and Supervisor Horvath, raising some of the concerns about governance. If an authority is to be created, I think it should be primarily led by Palisadians, and about the needed engagement around it. I also shared my concerns about it becoming a potential tool for overdevelopment in the Palisades, and I was worried about it potentially moving some land use decisions out of local control. So Senator Allen, I know, and Supervisor Horvath have heard concerns about it, and I am extremely grateful that they have been willing to listen and to take into consideration what the community concerns are. I want to be very clear that there are some things that a highly customized local authority could be helpful for. The ability to manage and invest tax increment financing and to issue bonds to help the Pacific Palisades develop and invest in long-term infrastructure. It could be useful to hold contracts for the procurement of materials that could be offered to participating community members at discount prices. But I have a lot of concerns about proposed land banking and redevelopment, particularly if the community doesn't have a primary seat in that decision making. And so Senator Allen has been very, very gracious in hearing my concerns and yours. And I know that he is looking forward to coming this evening to give you an update about the status of his proposed legislation and to hear your thoughts and concerns. I think this should be an ongoing conversation, but I think that it should be community-led and based on data around what we know and what we can anticipate the needs of the community are going to be. And so I hope that you will all listen with an open mind. And I want this to be a decision that, if we make it at all, is one that we make together. I also, since I have you for a moment, wanted to just mention that the members of the county's Blue Ribbon Commission are all volunteers who were asked to participate in developing ideas and recommendations about potential recovery strategies. I believe that they were selected by the county because of their background and highly customized subject matter expertise on a multitude of issues related to infrastructure, operations, logistics, watershed, coastal protection, and more. I know that there has been a lot of engagements and emails and chatter online, but I just want to remind folks that those commissioners were volunteers. They were assigned a task, which they completed. Those policy recommendations are now in the hands of the elected officials who can, take those ideas and translate them into laws or policies or not. So I would encourage folks that as they're engaging around this, let's remember that those commissioners are friends, and some of them are neighbors in the Pacific Palisades community. And I think it is always important for us to remember we can disagree respectfully always. And we have been through a lot of trauma as a community, and inevitably we have a long road ahead. So let's continue to stick together. Let's continue being transparent. And let's continue to make sure that we are working as a united community to make decisions that affect all of us. So Sue, thank you again for having me, and I'm going to stick around and listen, and we'll all look forward from hearing from our friend a little bit later, Senator Allen. Thank you, Sue.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. That was an extra big treat for us tonight. Jenny Lee, you want to give a treasurer's update?
Sure. Our total balance now we have two bank accounts is $695,243.98. So if you remember at the last meeting, we talked about that we had opened a Schwab money market account to put our donations in while we figure out what to do with them. So we put $645,000 there.
Said that because they couldn't afford two cameras.
Oh,
Everybody needs to be on
So they
mute,
could only
please.
do one shot. So
in
they
our
kept
US
the
bank
reach.
account,
Uh-oh. I'm sorry, Jenny, did I mute you? I was trying to mute someone. I might have muted you by accident. Can you unmute?
yeah, I'm unmuted.
Sorry.
I was just saying we still have our US bank account and we have $50,243.10 there. And the activity that has mostly been our usual MailChimp monthly fee. We've had a few donations of $100, $23. We paid one of the NORC, the second payment bills. That's the organization that's doing our survey. And that was a check for $25,000 that hasn't cleared yet, but I've accounted for that in our total.
Okay.
So, I think that's it. Unless there's
Okay.
questions.
Thank you very much. Now we have time on the agenda for general public comment, but I just want to ask you guys all a favor. I think some people are here tonight, and they'd like to make a comment, and these are for non-board members. They want to make a comment on agenda number 11.1, which is Senator Allen's SB 549. I ask you please to not make your general comments at this point. Wait until the time comes after we've heard the presentation, and then we'll take those comments. Okay, so I'd appreciate that. Now, a few announcements from me.
So, excuse me,
yeah,
you have
yeah.
to, there are people I think who may want to make a comment.
Oh,
on a
sorry, I didn't
agenda
see the
item.
hand. Okay, Cindy, is that you?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, I have a very quick general update
Okay.
from the Board of the Palisades Village Green.
Okay.
We are actively engaged with a philanthropic benefactor relating to the installation of a significant piece of public art that's going to be put on the green. The project is intended to honor the community, respect the tragedy of the fires, and look to the rebuilt future through something beautiful, inspiring, and additive. We know that the community is going to have a lot of comments on this, and we're going to set up a separate Zoom meeting to have a presentation to look at the renderings that we've received to date. And so as a result, I wanted to invite anyone who already knows that they would like to attend this Zoom meeting to find out more about it, to please email us at info@palisadesvillagegreen.org to let us know that you're interested in being a part of the discussion. So that's it.
Okay, you'll also let us know so we can put that meeting in a MailChimp, right?
Yes,
Okay. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Diane Blake? I see you, Cindy Young, but we've got Diane first.
Okay, hi. I would like to ask two questions about 11.1, the SB 549.
Yeah, please, can you wait till we have that presentation? We're taking those questions after the presentation.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Sue, I don't know if Cindy wanted to make a comment, but she's a board member, so
No. Oh,
we'll wait.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, Kent.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm with Cosmic Buildings. We spoke at the last meeting about our 110 initiative where where for every 10 homes purchased, we donate one to a family that lost theirs in the wildfire and couldn't otherwise afford to return. We mentioned we will share a link at the next meeting and I'll post it in the chat right now. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much, Kent. Such a great project. Okay, other than 11.1, I don't see any more hands. Chris, do you? You're on
No,
mute.
I don't. I'm sorry. No,
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Andrea?
Andrea.
Yeah.
I'm
This is
sorry.
Hi, Beth. Hi. I just wanted to respond to what Tracy said earlier. A lot of us, I live in the Highlands, a lot of us in the Highlands, there's about 900 of us that have been communicating on WhatsApp. And we're not getting information in one group. Everybody's getting different information. And I wanted to know from Tracy, and this is also something I wanted to talk to Senator Allen about. Is there a way for us to get on email lists so that we're all getting the same information and we can all work together in a much more intelligent way? Because there's a lot of panic when a small group gets some info and then another group gets some info, and it would be really great, given all the trauma everyone's gone through, if we can have a really cohesive way to communicate together.
Are you on our MailChimp list and are you on Councilmember Parks' list to get her updates?
I do get Tracy Parks, yes, but I don't think I'm on yours, and I'm definitely not on Senator Allen's. I've met Tracy and I've met Senator Allen. I want to be more connected, definitely.
Okay.
Andrea, can I just mention to you, since I maintain a lot of our website in the MailChimp, why don't you go on the website, which is PacPally, and it's for everyone, of course, pacpallycc.org, pacpallycc.org. Go to the contact tab, and when you go on that, you'll see a link to sign up for our MailChimps, to get on our email list. And do you mind telling us your last name for the minutes?
Stone, Stone.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Hi.
Can I just ask one more question? One question. I can't figure out how to raise my hand. I apologize profusely.
Okay, okay.
I'm
Who
so
is this,
sorry.
please? Can
It's
someone tell me
it's
who this
Carl.
is? Can
This
someone
is-
tell me who this is?
This is Carmel Kudernka.
Oh, okay, I see it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, and I apologize again. I just had a question that basically is for Tracy Park or for anybody that might be able to answer. I am very curious. I understand about the Senate bill, and my point is not about that. My point really has to do with the motion that was placed by Supervisor Horvath in last week's Board of Supervisors meeting that requested County Council to provide input on whether the commission, the Blue Ribbon Commission's recommendations could be accepted en masse. And my question really has to do with, perhaps from Tracy Park, because she understands the ways of the county and the city better than most of us do. How is it that we can effectively provide support or voice opposition to Supervisor Horvath, and also if she could give just a quick thumbnail sketch as to what this board motion actually means, if that's possible at all. Thank you very much.
Can I just note also that we have Supervisor Horvath's deputy on the call, Zach Guidesick. He perhaps is giving a report later in the agenda, and maybe he can answer your question. I would also note for everyone for you, Carmel, and anybody else on this call, PPCC also on our website has a contact list for government reps. So you can go to that list and see what email addresses you can send to contact, for example, the supervisor or Zach Guidesick. So just for future information, that's on the website under resources. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Luke Hamer? Your hand is up, Lou. Okay. Lou seems to be gone.
I am back.
Oh,
Sorry
okay.
about that.
Okay.
I have a general comment, which is at this point in the recovery, as we start to think about plans of how we're going to actually put the town back together, we need to start getting updates on the after action reports that are currently with the state, the county, the city, and also the federal side. Because even though the Blue Ribbon Commission has a lot of great things in it, we need to know exactly not what went wrong to blame people, but to make it better so it doesn't happen again. So that's my general comment, and I hope that that can be updated by any of the reps here.
Okay, maybe when the time comes for the government reps to speak, they can answer that. I know we're all waiting for those answers, so thank you. Okay, my first announcement is that I have appointed PPCC committees ongoing for the 2025-26 term. I reappointed all the committees and advisors, which you can see on the attached link and also on our website. Per the bylaws, 2 of our advisors need to be approved by the board. Our legal advisor, Rob Weber, and our youth advisor, Ellen Nozar. So I'm going to ask right now, the board members, are there any objections to maintaining our 2 wonderful advisors? Okay, then we have consent about that. Next, I'm going to talk to you just for really briefly about the 4th of July. It was, despite all the tragedy we've been through, a really incredible day. I don't know how many of you ran in the race in Venice. I didn't, but my kids did, and they had a great time. It was really a very joyful run, 5K. Then we came to the parade, and there were several Palisades groups that either had cars or walked in the parade. The PPCC had some terrific walkers carrying our banner. We had Julia Nilsson, Diana Danielle, who is always our biggest cheerleader. If you could just go through a parade and back of Diana, it would make your day or your week. Ellen Nozar and Karen Ridgely. Also, Kay Stansapir marched with the PRC, but she was one of our members there. So we had a great time in the parade. Sharon Kilbride and her friend Amy drove 2 cars, one carrying Cindy Young, our Citizen of the Year, and the other car had 2 golden spark plugs, Leslie Campbell and Carlos Rodriguez. So it was just an amazingly fun parade, and everybody, I'm sure all of you who were there noticed, everybody along the way was cheering for the Palisades. It was quite moving. So if you missed it, I'm sorry. It was great. Then at night, Daphne Gronich and Matt Rodman, we owe you so much for lifting our spirits in such an incredibly huge way. The celebration at Paul Revere was beautiful. There was great music. Mayor Bass turned up for a few minutes, I guess, at the beginning. We definitely had Councilwoman Park at the party. We had our honorary mayors introduced, Gigi and Ted McGinley by Sam Lagana. And there was music, and then a great drone show at the end. It was really a beautiful, beautiful night. And again, thanks to Daphne and Matt. I don't know what would have happened without you two, because I know you guys did the entire thing. So thank you very much for that. Next, our very own Luke Hamer has a son named Henry, who with one of his friends has started a project called Palisades Stories. And in the agenda, you'll see the link. The purpose of the project is to capture and preserve unique stories of the residents and businesses from town. So if you guys would like to contribute, I know Henry would love it. If you could go on to that website and tell your story, long or short. What else? Oh, there was another update that Councilwoman Park didn't mention from the LADWP, and that is there's an upcoming project to rehabilitate the existing water regulator station that's right there at Via de la Paz and Sunset. The work is scheduled to begin in November and to finish in April of next year. They're going to have a town hall, and that will be announced. You'll see that in our MailChimp. They'll let us know when that happens. So that's from the DWP. Also, one more thing I wanted to mention that's not on the agenda, Engaged California. We have a representative tonight, Robert from Engaged California, who's going to put something in the chat, going to put a website that you can go to if you'd like. This is a platform that allows fire survivors to provide direct input on key recovery efforts and what matters a lot to them. Of course, we're doing a survey as well, but this is from the governor's office. So if you would like to register and take part in their survey, go to that website. It's engaged.ca.gov. And 8.1.5, there was a position letter that is in a link since our last PPCC meeting supporting Councilwoman Park's motion to restrict disaster tourism bus operations in the Palisades. So thank goodness for that. We really don't want to see any more tour buses coming through town. Additionally, there's another position letter sent on June 24th that was in opposition to Senate Bill 79. That's Senator Wiener's bill. Chris will report, I believe, a little bit more on that later. I think that's it from me. And does the Chair Emeritus have anything to report?
Hi, everyone. I do not. Thank you.
Okay. How about any of the other officers? Okay, what about at large and then area reps?
Well, that's me at large. So just following up on Sue's reference to SB 79, which is Senator Wiener's bill that would allow for increased or mandatory permit approval for pretty large affordable housing projects near transit stations. And I know there's been some chat on some of the WhatsApp or other social media as to why we're opposing this. How could this ever happen here? Well, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. This would allow these types of structures, again, on a mandatory basis or a non-discretionary basis in areas that are within a certain distance of major bus stops, which would have for example, would have a dedicated bus lane or would have stops, say, every 15 minutes. We don't necessarily have that now, but it could happen in the future. So we've opposed this on the grounds that it basically impedes on local control. But more importantly, the bill doesn't include a full exemption for the fire zone. We're entirely within the very high hazard fire zone, and we don't want to see mandatory addition of density without a review of the environmental impacts. So we have presented our opposition. The bill was heard yesterday in one of the assembly committees. It's already passed in the Senate. Senator Allen doesn't support the bill, but it passed nonetheless. And it is now in the assembly. It passed in the committee hearing that I attended, and it now is going forward. It still has several processes to go through before it passes. Hopefully it won't. I want to thank Lori Kudsel in particular, who really at the last minute took a huge effort to try to convince the members of that committee to vote no by sending out a video of people escaping the fire, very compelling video. But unfortunately, that video didn't really move the mark. So we have to figure out a strategy to what would make more sense going forward. I know our Assembly member Irwin doesn't support this type of bill either, so we'll have to see what happens. But I just wanted to share with everyone some thoughts about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any of our area reps? So I see Sharon Kilbride, your hand is up.
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know I had a pleasant experience at the new Unified Utilities DWP Rebuild Center, which is located at the old Malibu feed bin location. I went up there this week on a couple of concerns for my neighbors on poles. It was very quick. We got waited on just immediately. They took care of it. And they also gave me this email address of people that are displaced and want to email them directly. They said they will give them prompt response. I put the email in the chat and somebody has already come back to me and said, well, they haven't returned their email. But I'm telling you, if you go in person, it's very, very quick and they're very efficient. So they're also building a new building on the side of where their little office is. It's going to be for community meetings. So maybe in the future, they will be having, the public come there to give different discussions. So I just wanted to pass that along to everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Cindy Young, you're up.
Hi, I know everybody is sick to death of meetings, but I think this one's sort of interesting. The CMHO board, the Castellar Mesa homeowners put together a town hall that includes Ben Allen and Tracy Park. So we're excited about that. And the information will include information on the CRD funding as it compared to EIFD funding and GAD funding. And it also includes food. So I think that it has some things that may break out to be very interesting, and to have both Senator Allen and Tracy Park there is going to make it. I think we'll get some answers is what I'm thinking. So what I'm going to do is put this information into the chat, and those who want to come can RSVP. Thank you.
Cindy, what is the date of this and time?
I beg your pardon. It is Sunday, July 2nd.
July 20th.
I'm at July 20th, sorry, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have sort of a grace period into 3 p.m. So just in case questions come, but all of Palisades is invited. It started with just the hillside, and then we realized a lot of people are involved with this. So we wanted to make sure everyone knew about it.
It's going to be at the Santa Monica YMCA.
Santa Monica YMCA. All of this information is in the invitation, and it'll be from 11 a.m. I said that to 2 p.m. And YMCA is on 6th Street, 13326 6th Street, free parking underneath the building.
Great. Thank you so much.
Can
Yeah,
I
thank
add
you.
something,
Yeah.
Sue?
Yeah.
In addition to what Cindy highlighted, we're going to have David Barrett, who is Executive Director of My Safe LA,
Mhm.
and he's going to talk about what you do in order to, improve, keep your home fire safe. And this is primarily, well, it's for rebuilding too, but it doesn't talk about, well, I haven't seen his presentation, but I hear it's excellent.
Yeah.
But he's going to talk about how to keep your home safe from fire. And then after that, while we aren't endorsing anyone, we do have a builder who builds fire resistant homes made of steel. Everything is rated with fire safety, including the roof. So we thought that would be an interesting presentation to follow David Barrett's presentation on making your home fire safe.
Thanks. Yeah, we love David. He's been here a few times to present to us.
That's so good.
So we like him
Thank
a
you,
lot.
Kim. Thank you.
Are there any other area reps who have things to report? Going once, going twice. I don't see anyone. Okay, from our organizational reps. Oh, wait, David Card. Oh, from our organizational reps. There you go, David.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to report that, remind people that they're not required to cut down trees just because of Zone 0, because Zone 0 is only a draft. It's only a draft of a regulation. It's not enforceable. It hasn't been finally approved and probably won't for some time, if at all. And so don't cut down your trees just because you think you know that, or heard somebody say that you're supposed to cut down your trees. The insurance companies may ask you to do that as a condition to renewing your policy, but that's something between you and the insurance company, and it's something that is a horrible situation in any event. A second point, and by the way, the LA Fire Department's brush clearance rules are the same old ones that we've been living with, so those are the ones you have to comply with still. Second point, we have 2 water trucks going in the Palisades now that are locals, Valeria Serna and of Palisades Forestry Committee and Tracy Price are doing water rounds with water trucks to water street trees, select street trees, and select park trees. They don't have the funding to do everything everywhere. But they're trying to do as much as they can to water, especially the small street trees and the small park trees that really haven't received any water, most of them, since the rain stopped months ago. So we're hoping to get funding to do water truck every day of every weekday, and for the whole Palisades from as far west as Marquez Avenue and as far east as Chautauqua. That's something that we're all working towards, and hope we can get the funding for it. We don't want to kill the small trees of the Palisades that have survived the fire, but may not survive a summer here. Next point. Street trees are now being cut down by, I think, the Urban Forestry Division of Streets LA, by the city. Today, one of our water trucks went down Hartzell and came across a crew that from the company called Bright View, a huge landscape contractor. That was engaged by the city to cut down 100 trees in the Palisades. 100 trees, I assume they're street trees, but Valeria noticed as she was trying to water some of those trees that they had been cut down, the ones that we had driven by with her on Tuesday. Some of them had been cut down today. So I put in a text to Arus at CD11, but then realized she's on vacation. So I just sent it again to Tracy Park and to her general CD11 text address and explaining all that. I won't go into that any further, but this kind of thing has to stop. If there are trees, and we did hear that there are 16% of the trees in the Palisades are dead and have to be cut down in the parkways. That's what urban forestry told us. So maybe this is the 16%, but when they start cutting down trees that are live, that we witnessed live on Tuesday, cut down today, that is very disturbing, and that needs to stop. And finally, just one last pitch for the Agathis robusta Queensland Kauri tree that we planted in the park at Palisades Rec Center, right next to the park sign at the entrance, next to the Moreton Bay fig, that huge tree. I advocated at the last Park Advisory Board meeting that when the library commissioner or head of management for the whole library system came and gave a presentation and showed a picture of where the temporary library was going to go. It was going to go right on top of that tree. So I asked him if he could nudge it over a little bit to save our tree. And he said yes. And I hope that I'm hoping we can follow through on that and make sure that construction doesn't fall on top of that tree. There's plenty of room in that grass area. And that's it. That's my report from Palisades Forestry Committee. Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much, Dave. Are there any other organizational reps that have a report? If not, I'm going to insert something in here. We're going to move things around a little bit. We're going to go to 9.1 on the agenda because we have two parts of our agenda tonight that require a vote of the board. So we're going to go to 9.1, which is the Three Chairs Committee. I believe Miriam has an announcement.
Yes, hi everyone. So the Committee of the Three Chairs, which was comprised of David Card, Chris Spitz, and I, met because we had some applicants per our announcement that we needed to find a second alternate for Area 3. So we had, I believe, 5 applicants. We reviewed them all. We conferred with the primary rep, which is Julia Nilsson. It was not an easy decision to make, by the way, because we had some very wonderful applicants, but we did finally choose one, and that is Bonnie Burgess from Area 3. I believe she's on the call. We invited her to come to the call so that she could introduce herself to you. She's here. So we'll give her the floor, and then when she's done, we will ask you all to affirm our nomination of Bonnie Burgess as the second alternate for Area 3. Bonnie?
Hi, how are
Hi,
you?
are you here? Hi.
Nice to meet you all.
Hi, welcome.
Very honored that you are considering nominating me for this position. I think you guys do such a great job and I'm proud to be part of it.
Oh, we're so happy to see you.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay. For those who don't know me, I grew up in the Palisades. I've raised our 3 children there, and our 8 grandchildren are all being raised in the Palisades. There are 4 generations Palisadian family. And it means the world to me. And the joy that this town has brought me is just, there's no price on it. It's just unbelievable. So we need to get our town back. And that's my main goal right now.
How many homes did you lose, your family?
4 houses.
4.
Donna and I lost ours, and our 3 children and their spouses and children all lost theirs. And my daughter's father-in-law, George Younger, lost his. So there, and then the Festa family is my aunt and uncle and my cousins, and they all lost theirs. So our family has been hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
In this.
well, we're
Do you
sorry
mind if
for-
do you mind if I say something? Just Mariam, so I'm Chris Spitz, I'm part of that committee. And I just wanted to say hi, Bonnie, and I'm glad to have nominated you. Glad to meet you. Look forward to working with you. That's all. Thanks.
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask the board, does anyone on the board have any objection to our friend Bonnie Burgess being second alternate in Area 3? Okay, Bonnie, official welcome.
Thank,
Glad to have you.
thank
Sue,
you all.
can you just say her last name, or Bonnie, can you say her
It's
last name?
Burgess, Burgess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I met you because you're Scott's mom, right? You have,
Yes.
yeah, well, Michael Younger is my son-in-law for 24 years.
Oh,
And
nice
I
to
met
meet
you
you
for
indirectly.
talking. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda also requires a vote. So we're going to go to that, which is 11.2. And after that, we'll ask Senator Allen to give his presentation. But let's go to 11.2, recommended motions A through C. Chris?
Okay, that is, I guess I'm up for that, and Sharon Kilbride and I are both making this motion, so we don't need a second, because it's being made by 2 voting members. So these are 3 motions that are all really related to homelessness. They come out of the RAC. The RAC is the West Side Regional Alliance of Councils, which PPCC is a member of. We're one of 14 neighborhood and community councils on the west side of LA that belong to this coalition. I happen to be the vice chair of that coalition. Mariam Zar at one point was the chair. And I am also the vice chair of the RAC Homelessness Committee. Cindy Young, our wonderful Citizen of the Year last year, and also president of the Palisades Task Force on Homelessness, is also on that committee representing PPCC. And everyone knows Sharon is also involved so heavily with the Task Force on Homelessness. So all of us recommend, I'll just include Cindy in this informally, we all recommend these motions. So the first 2 motions are basically related to efforts to try to get at the problems with the mayor's program called Inside Safe, which those of us who've studied it realize a lot of money has been spent and we don't know where it's gone or what's happening with it. So the first motion is requesting the mayor to consent to the controller's audit of Inside Safe. The mayor stated in a court hearing in a pretty prominent federal case that's going on that she couldn't or wouldn't order this. So we are asking for her to please order an audit by the city controller, who has said he would like to do that. So that's the first motion. The second motion is a motion requesting the mayor or the city administrative officer to disclose the sources of funding for the Inside Safe program. It's pretty straightforward. So I'm going to take those 2 separately, then we'll get to the third one in a moment. Is there any discussion about either of those 2 motions? All right, Sue, do you want to see if anybody objects to either of
I'm
those
going to ask,
motions?
does anyone object to either of those 2 motions, A or B? Any
Doesn't
abstention?
sound like there's an objection, so I think
Any
A and B
abstention?
have passed, correct?
I
No
believe
objections.
so. I think it's unanimous.
Okay. The third
Okay.
motion is also related to homelessness. What this involves is a motion by Tracy Park, our councilwoman, to basically expand 4118. So those of you who don't know, 4118 is the famous section of the Los Angeles Municipal Code that basically regulates camping in the public right of way. So what that motion calls for is to expand what's called sensitive sites that would be subject to encampment removal. And that would include fire stations, police stations, and things of that nature that are not currently in the ordinance. So that is what that motion is all about. And I can explain more if you wish, but I'm just putting that on the table. That's again a motion by me and Sharon. Any questions about that motion?
I don't think so. Should we take a vote?
Sure.
Are there any objections? Any abstentions?
I abstain. This is Jenny.
Okay.
Jenny's abstaining? Okay, good.
Any abstained? Okay.
Well, otherwise it seems that it passes. So
Yeah, that
there's no
passes.
other votes, no. So
Okay.
thank you so much. We'll let the West Side Regional Alliance of Councils know about this. And by the way, just so people know, when the RAC motions achieve a majority vote, which is at least 8 of the member councils, they become adopted positions and they can be lobbied or advocated as such by RAC. That's it for those. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. Okay, now I think I'm going to introduce our special guest, our State Senator Ben Allen, who is joining us tonight, I believe with 1 or 2 staff members. to give a presentation on SB 549 and any updates, since I think there have been some big updates. So Senator Allen, are you here with us?
Okay, I'm just making sure I was in the right venue
There
here.
you are.
Well, it's so nice to see everybody, and I just I love this council. It's such a good kind of convening of good, thoughtful people just trying to make the community better. I was also at the 4th of July during the day portion because I got little ones, so we weren't able to hang around for the evening. But it was a wonderful celebration. I appreciate folks inviting me to come, and my kids had a really good time in the bounce house, and we got to see a lot of people. So it was a wonderful opportunity for everyone to get together. We'd initially planned to have me come on to talk about SB 549, which I will talk about. Of course, the bill's in a very different, as most of you likely know, we decided to put a pause on the bill yesterday. And that means that nothing is going to happen on this bill, at least until 2026. And of course, we'll have to figure out what we want to do with it. But the challenge we had was that the proposal that came out of the Blue Ribbon Commission it came out on a Friday, and we had a legislative deadline of a Monday to pull this into a bill. And so, I thought there was some interesting ideas there, but certainly, it was my strong feeling after just a lot of conversations that we weren't going to have the time to incorporate all of the community engagement and discussions that we really needed to do something that would build up support and properly incorporate and engage the whole community. And then layered onto that was a lot of really kind of wild rumor and just misperceptions and misinformation about various aspects of the bill. And I'll explain a little bit why, at least it's my understanding of why some of those things happen. But let me just say, the key thing for me throughout this whole process has been trying to, advance local leadership over the rebuilding process, make sure that we remove statutory roadblocks that may be coming up in the recovery process. And we don't want to add new layers of bureaucracy. We don't want to require new boxes for people to check. This whole idea actually came out of the commission going out and studying lots and lots of examples around the country and in fact the world, from Katrina to 9/11 to other fires to New Zealand, where they created authorities that were ultimately able to remove confusing and overlapping existing jurisdictions, which to some extent we have a problem with right now in the Palisades, and try to create a central authority, like a joint powers authority with a single purpose of existence, and that purpose is the rebuild. And all the full-time jobs tied to it would be solely focused on the recovery. It would be a one-stop shop for people to get permits, connect with resources. There was also the possibility of using a central authority with financing power to bond against future property taxes to help keep Palisades property taxes in the Palisades. And that money could then be used to mass purchase construction materials and contract with builders to directly subsidize the cost of rebuilding. We've also heard, community interest in providing low interest and soft second loans to bridge the gap between what insurance will pay for and what a new mortgage might be for a rebuilt home. But of course, all of that, and I think all the trust as to whether folks would want to give an authority that sort of power really depends on who's in charge, right? And so it's a governance conversation, right? And from my perspective, it was really important that would be a governance structure that was centered in the community, that it have the support of the council member and organizations like the PPCC. Let me just say a few things about just some of the misinformation that was out there. Just be really, really clear with folks about what was never under consideration with the bill. There was nothing in the bill about changes to zoning or permitting law. There were no requirements placed on the proposed authority to have to meet affordable housing, public transit, density requirements. Absolutely not. This was not about trying to buy up mass amounts of properties to develop huge towers or change the community from what was there before. It was always about the physical act of rebuilding, lowering costs for everyone, trying to make sure that property owners who didn't have resources to build would have fair compensation for their property instead of being undercut by private developers. One of the ideas that was primarily focused on the Eaton side was the idea of land banking. I don't know how well it could apply to the Palisades. Maybe some areas, maybe not. But again, that would have to be something the community would have to agree to. But the idea of the government buying property, and the goal with that, as we've seen in other places, was having people and businesses get back into their homes and back into the community as quickly as possible, as a counter to some of the private speculation that we've been seeing in a rife manner in the Altadena area, offering far below fair market value purchases. And the benefit here was to require properties to be bought at fair market value and then be offered first to whoever sold the property after the homes or businesses have been rebuilt, so that the homeowners, that the residents that were there before could come back, even if at the time they didn't have the resources to handle all of the challenges that they were facing. And then, of course, the authority could also use the land for community infrastructure like green space, fire breaks, et cetera, to try to do more to prevent the kind of tragedy that we saw from this urban wildfire from occurring again. So that was the idea. That was why I said, hey, there's an interesting idea here. I think we ought to give this a try. We ought to see, when I say give this a try, we ought to see if there's enough, if we can pull together something, before the legislative session ends that would merit doing this. The problem, of course, is that I think what really confused people, and this was a repercussion of Senate rules where we have a limited amount of bills that we can put through. And so sometimes two different but relatively similar ideas can be combined in the same bill. And because we had this very simple, small bill that was making its way through the legislature, that we took the Blue Ribbon Commission report proposal relating to the authority and put it into, but they were always separate. They never were connected, except for the fact that they were in the same bill. I get that that is incredibly confusing for people that aren't deep in the weeds on the legislative process, but that led to some wild misperceptions about what the bill did. We had a section of the bill that was totally unrelated to the Resilient Rebuilding Authority. This was the section that was in there before. It got bipartisan support. It was a very simple thing, but it basically had to do with helping to give local governments some more flexibility to invest in their community, including things like density and transit. The two sections of the bill, as I say, were not linked. There was no requirement or expectation for that type of financing system to be made in the areas impacted by the wildfires. But what ended up happening was people saw that, they misconstrued and thought that they were both connected. And then all of a sudden, people thought that this bill was all about trying to mass build low-income housing, homeless housing, mass transit, rail projects into the Palisades. And thankfully the LA Times has done a big write-up of this, and they've debunked all of those theories, and as has Ashley Zavala and a couple other journalists. But I just want everyone here to know directly from me, given all the wild rumors were out there, what the motivation was, and I'm happy to answer any additional questions. We're gonna, as was mentioned, I'm going to be at the Castellamar the meeting on Sunday. Tracy and I are working to do some sort of thing together. Largely to just talk more broadly about some of the challenges that the community are facing and what we can do to be helpful, but also to really see if Tracy herself, while certainly initially concerned or nervous about aspects of the bill, has also said to me personally, and then I know publicly on the call today, that there were some things in there that were intriguing to her that she thought could actually be really a benefit to the Palisades. And so I think the thought is that there may be some things that we want to do from that original bill that would be of benefit. But again, we're only going to do this if it's done in a way that engages the community, that people feel good about. So I want to encourage your engagement on this issue. As we have these conversations now over the course of the rest of the year. Let me just also say we stand really anxious to help people. We've been helping some people get through their insurance challenges. I've got a direct line to the insurance commissioner, and I've helped resolve a number of issues that people have had with various insurers. I know those issues continue to pop up in the area, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have challenges. I want to also, most of you know Sam Liu, who's our wonderful Deputy Chief of Staff and has been running our LA operations since I've been in the Senate. But I also want to point out our newest hire to the team is Sophia Liebman, who is fantastic. She grew up in the Palisades. One of the main reasons, in addition to her stellar resume and her intelligence and her skills and savvy, and experience. But one of the many things we were excited about was her deep connection and commitment and interest in working on the rebuild and trying to assist the community. And we brought her on to really help with this. So I know she's really deeply committed to working with the community to address challenges impacting the community. She's worked on issues in LA, including education, housing, homelessness. And so, Sophia, I don't know if you want to take a quick second to just say hello and introduce yourself to the council so folks get the chance to meet you.
Hi, I'm Sophia.
You're muted. You're muted.
No, she's good. We hear.
can hear.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Sophia.
Hi.
I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm really excited to join the team and work with you all. I'll put my email in the chat. Again, I grew up in the Palisades, so being here is really special. This is a passion project for me, and I'm very excited to work with you all.
Well, welcome, and we're so glad to have you. And we'll be glad to have you at future meetings, we hope. Thank you so much. Senator Allen, thank you so much. There has been so much misinformation and so many rumors, and you showing up here to present to us and to speak to us and answer questions just, means so much about who you are and what you want to do for us. So thank you so much for that. We're going to have some questions and comments, but before we do that, there is a motion on the table that has been proposed by the executive committee, so we don't need a second, a motion that needs to be voted on tonight that is related to all of this. And I'm just going to read it. PPCC acknowledges and commends the recommendations and concerns raised in Councilmember Tracy Park's letter to Senator Allen and Supervisor Horvath on July 8th, 2025, regarding the proposed rebuilding authority for the Palisades. We strongly support the principles of transparency and robust public engagement and agree that community input and involvement in the governing structure must be an integral part of any path forward. As Councilmember Park noted, far more study and direct engagement with Palisades residents is essential before such powers are assigned to the rebuilding authority. To that end, we believe it's critical for any proposal for a rebuilding authority or district to take into account data forthcoming from our NORC survey commissioned by the PPCC, along with recommendations from the PPCC Rebuild Committee and additional community input. Our priority is to ensure the recovery moves forward in a way that is inclusive, informed, and responsive to the needs of the Palisades residents. So that is our motion. And would anyone like to discuss that before we take a vote? And then we'll have comments. Miriam?
I'm just clapping for it.
Oh, okay. Couldn't tell. Thank you. Donna? Are you going to just make a comment?
I have a concern about the motion and a comment. Mr. Allen, I'm Donna Vaccarino. I'm president of the Pacific Palisades Historical Society. I'm also a licensed architect and a master's degree in architecture and urban planning from UCLA. And I was chair of the design review board in the Palisades and also sat on the Civic League reviewing houses. So I am probably a little more familiar with these issues than 90% of the people in the community. First of all, I want to really thank you for the courage, you and Tracy Park and Lindsay Horvath, for putting out this document for discussion. I think it was a really brave beginning and an authority that can help manage this process is the only way this community is going to move forward constructively and for the community. Certainly private enterprise has to be involved, but it must be, and government support, but it must be managed and moved by the community. And I think you have sensed that, and Tracy Park has sensed that. Rather than, and this is something that we held a special board meeting today before this meeting with the Historical Society, and their concerns as well are basically for this further exploration of how we can make this happen, but with an understanding of focusing first on how a organizational entity
can incorporate the appropriate members of the community that can help you move this forward. So that clarification is primary. So I'm wondering, rather than just closing the door on this, whether there's some way to amend this that leaves the door open for beginning the first phase, which would be creating an authority that would look at the process of instigating a community master plan, which basically is community driven. And there are organizations that can help do that, that are professionally trained to do this. Certainly the Norco survey is important. Other surveys that Resilient Palisades have done. There's going to be many surveys testing and getting the heart and soul of the Palisades on board for redevelopment. If we don't do this, then we remain in sort of a chaotic one by one, everyone free for all, and that's going to end up not helping anybody.
Totally.
Thank you.
Totally. I really appreciate your comments. And no, we have not closed the door to this. That's why we just put a pause on it. But I will say, I would really welcome a partnership in devising a refined and version of this with the council. Because I think the constant criticism that we received that, you know, had some validity was that this was crafted from a 10,000-foot level with the Blue Ribbon Commission, looking at both the disaster sites. It also included Malibu and County, and you know, there are unique challenges associated with the Palisades that I think could really benefit from something like this. But I think we're going to have to work it out together, and I think that will also land much better with the broader Palisades community if it's seen as something that is truly done in direct partnership with the council.
Okay. Thank you. By the way, people, this is board members because we're going to vote on our motion in a minute. So others of you, if you could just wait a minute, we'll get to you. Jenny Lee.
Okay, so what's your guess? Are they listening up there, or could they?
I'm going to talk over Ron.
Someone needs to be on mute.
I don't know who the best person is to address this, but I am seeing in the chat that there's so much confusion and misinformation about what the authority is versus what some of the other things that are kind of being conflated with it, like separate density bills. You know, Newsom's $100 million for, you know, people are talking about that in the chat. And I feel like it would be helpful for someone, I don't know if it's Senator Allen or Mariam or whoever wants to sort of explain exactly what the authority is proposing to do and what it is not proposing to do, and that it doesn't have to, I don't believe that it has anything to do with density and homeless housing. I think those are other things that are going on in separate bills and separate issues. So I feel like can somebody explain that for the board?
Do you want me to, or Donna? What do you?
No,
I'm happy.
not Donna. Senator Allen, if you want to answer that, you can.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So the idea is to have some sort of joint powers authority, but with a very, very strong community based governance that would only be about the rebuild, and it could sort of take advantage of local tax increment financing to help direct Palisades money directly toward the Palisades. And it could do things like, you know, as they say, mass purchasing construction materials, contracting with builders on a collective level to directly subsidize the cost of rebuilding for folks in the neighborhood. It could also potentially provide support for low interest and soft second loans to bridge the gap between what insurance is paying folks and what a new mortgage might be for a rebuilt home. It could also act as a one-stop shop for all the permitting. So we could just have it all go through this one place. So people could only have to go to them as opposed to have to call the county and the state and the local and the city. And so, at the end of the day, the only reason to do this is to make it easier for people and to make the whole process work better for the whole community. All the stuff about like homeless housing. That just became this rumor mill that I think got conflated with other things that were happening. I mean, I saw SB 79 was being brought up all the time in the context of my bill. I didn't even vote for SB 79. The Newsom announcement to try to provide $101 million for affordable housing through the region, to help. And when I say the region, I mean the LA area, to help people that were displaced. Again, nothing to do with this bill, but got really conflated.
Okay, thank you. Before we take any more questions or comments.
And maybe
Oh.
Sophia or Sam could post the LA Times article in the chat so people can read it. That actually does a good job of explaining it all. My only caveat is that I'm not particularly proud of my quote. It was a little too flippant, and the journalist caught me at a weird moment. But that's all I'm going to say about that.
That's okay. I think we've all had those. What I'd like to do, though, is get back to this motion and take a vote so that we can then move on with further questions. So, first of all, are there any objections to the motion that I read? And I see a couple of people with hands up who are not voting members. They're just waiting to make a comment. I do not see any objections. Is that correct from board members? Tell me if I'm wrong.
Well, I would like to make sure that we, as an incentive, keep the dialogue open with this.
Okay.
And the way it's phrased, it sounds like it's okay. We don't like it. Listen, we're not voting on it. And thank you. And
Okay.
But it left the door open. Sorry, Donna.
How do you
have
keep
it in front of you? But I thought we drafted it in a way that said we want to see collaboration, we want to see things go forward, and we want to see it in a way that puts Palisadians at the table. Chris, isn't that the concluding?
Yes, I was just going to say the same thing. Everything is open. It's just we want to see openness and transparency. So I guess my clarity would be for the minutes. Are you voting no, Donna?
No, I would support that. I mean, both of you.
Okay,
feel
so
that-
you're a yes also on the motion.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's one other element here that I'm not sure where it comes in and whether it should be addressed.
Donna, we're calling.
Does it have to do with our
now.
motion,
Not-
Donna?
We've gone
This is
through
just
the
the motion.
discussion.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Pass
Are there any objections to the motion from any of the board members? Okay. And I think that one passes.
Well, maybe, is anybody abstaining?
Oh, sorry, abstentions. Sorry, I forgot. No. Okay,
I think that means the motion has passed. We'll put that
the
in.
motion has passed.
Thank you, thank you.
So we're gonna ask for Hank Wright and then Harris Smith and Diane Blake. Hank, are you still on? There you
Yeah,
go.
I am. And I want to thank Senator Allen. It really helps when you come and actually, talk to us and all that. So I applaud you because there has been a lot of flame around that. I think from a state level, what would really be helpful for the bulk of the community would be relief from the property taxes. There was relief in terms of from the structure that was on it, but we don't have use of our property until it's rebuilt. So continuing to pay 2/3 of the property tax on that is kind of painful. And, in order to be able to not make this sitting offline forever, when the property changes hands or something like that, then it would revert back to it. So to help us out during that rebuilding process from the state, that's what you could be able to help us with.
Okay. Senator Allen, you're on mute. I don't know if you know that.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. Yeah, so I've got a bill right now, SB 663, that deals with that very question. It's all about giving folks sort of this extra time to claim. So basically giving additional time to claim misfortune and calamity relief, and it gives it some additional relief along the lines of what you described. So I would encourage you to take a look at the bill. If there are things that we're working on this with the county assessor, SB 663, we'll post some information about it in the chat. But take a look at it. If there's some additional things you want us to try to put in there, please let us know. But it's all about tax relief for the fire victims.
Great. Thank you so much. Harris?
Yeah, thank you, Senator Allen. My question has to do with more from a practical perspective. there are probably at least a half a dozen different entities, organizations, whether it's Caruso, whether it's Steadfast or Team Pally, I can't remember all the acronyms. How do we coalesce all of these organizations so that we don't have 5 or 6 or 7 different silos doing 5 or 6 or 7 different things simultaneously without bringing them together to where the sum of the parts is always greater than the individual parts. How do we incorporate that into the authority, if I understand the bill correctly?
Yeah, that was one of the many possible benefits that we could get out of doing this, because there's so much money that was raised and was donated, but as you say, it's all strewn about in a lot of private actors, quite frankly, that are all around, and there's only a certain degree of coherence, and we've met with them. I mean, all of them know they need to row in the same direction, but they all have somewhat different visions. And I think that was one of the other ideas, that the authority could also help to play a more kind of centralized role for helping to set direction. But we're very libertarian people, right? I mean, that's the flip side of all this. And I think people were nervous about one place making all these kinds of decisions together. I don't know. It's part of what's made this whole process so hard. But yeah, I'd love to see more coherence amongst the various philanthropic groups, because they're not coordinating enough from my perspective.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Diane.
Thank you so much for taking my question. I live in Pacific Palisades Highlands, and I was stunned when the Blue Ribbon Commission report came out. I have been removed by all the WhatsApp apps, which is fine. We moved home in February, and I felt just broadsided by that report. And I bank at Citibank across from where the LA substation was supposed to be. And I saw a banner in there for Palisades Recovery Coalition. I would like to know, I went to only one of their meetings, who is representing those of us who survived? There's no mention of that. And number two, where are the open town halls to talk about this stuff? I am appalled. And who put the person in charge of Palisades Recovery Coalition? How did that person get elected to do that? I'm a property taxpayer, and I really felt broadsided. And I'm a third generation Palisades Angelino, and it was the scariest thing I ever read. So where are the town halls for all of this? We have no grocery store. We have roads we can't drive on. The thing that public officials, their number one thing is public safety and making it livable in an environment. None of that has occurred. Vaughn's Market is not possible. And in my HOA, everyone who is 80 and over, they have left because it's too dangerous to drive around here. There's nowhere to shop. There's nothing. There's not even a pharmacy. And I was broadsided. I'm very upset about it. And I really do not trust the process at this point. And finally, Heal the Bay, when I heard that presentation, Heal the Bay, I've been here forever, should heal the Bay. I don't understand why that organization has decided to go into development and the city of Los Angeles has decided to go into development with land banking when I can't even drive on my streets. I can't shop. There is no market. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly can't speak to everything associated with the Blue Ribbon Commission. I wasn't involved with it personally. I will say the land banking provision was largely put in there for the Eaton fire. I think everybody knows that. Everybody who was involved knew that, and that was the reason why the land banking thing was in there. I don't know. I can't speak to the Recovery Coalition. Most of the questions you're asking about are more directed toward the city. So I don't know if someone from Tracy Park's office wants to answer. Though I will say some of the dysfunction you're talking about speaks to just the lack of coherence and cooperation between the various entities that we were trying to address with the creation of the authority, albeit in a clunky way, I would admit. But I don't know if anyone from Councilmember Park's office wants to answer some of the more specifics associated with people moving back in, and just the lack of infrastructure in the Highlands.
I don't think so. There'll be more coming. Oh, who's there?
It's Tracy Park.
Oh, Tracy, you're still here. Oh my gosh.
Yes, no, I am still here. I'll just chime in and add this as well. And I want to thank Senator Allen for being here and for his time tonight. You know, Senator Allen for the last 6 months has showed up for us and for me consistently. He takes my calls and my texts at all hours of day and night, and he's been an incredible partner in all of this. With respect to the specific infrastructure in the Palisades, you know, one of the things that I think we are all trying to be very mindful of as we continue to digest the scale of loss already and the lack of amenities that you have in your community is prioritizing the reopening of your public spaces, your anchor institutions. A lot of that revolves around your retail, grocery stores, the things that you need to be able to have to exist as a community. And I think we all have our eyes wide open about the fact that the next couple of 3 years are going to be really hard in and around the Palisades. And there is a living community that needs to not only exist, but thrive in the middle of that. And so my team and I know that Senator Allen's team, and really all of us in elected office are united in our effort to ensure that we are being mindful of the existing community, the displaced community, and the needs of the overall community as we are making decisions about what we're rebuilding and prioritizing things. And so I am incredibly grateful to Senator Allen and others that have sprung into action to help us deliver support for small businesses to get them reopened, who are working to help us close the gap to rebuild commercial centers, and to our businesses that are still standing, that are continuing to come back and reinvest in the Palisades community. We are all on the same page. And I hear you guys loud and clear. Your way of life has been disrupted. It has been leveled and devastated, frankly. But we are going to put this back together for you from the ground up. And we hear you loud and clear about what your needs and your priorities are. And you have my commitment, and I know you have Senator Allen's commitment as well, to listen and to be transparent and to engage with you. And so as we move now from debris removal into reconstruction, this is why we are having these conversations now about what are the priorities, what is the help we need, and what are the things that the community needs to get through this. So we hear you about the grocery stores and other amenities, and they are top priorities for all of us.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate the help. Both of you are giving us so much help. Andrew Wolfberg.
Thank you. Senator Allen, I appreciate you coming tonight and speaking to us. I understand that collegiality and legislative strategy can sometimes influence voting decisions. You said you didn't vote in favor of SB 79, but you actually abstained rather than voting no to send a stronger message of opposition. Can you explain why you didn't just vote no because it's such a bad bill?
Well, I was hoping that he'd make a few changes to the bill that he ultimately didn't make. You know, in the end of the day, he needed 21 votes to get it out. That's exactly what he got. He got 21 votes. There were some, he'd made a bunch of changes. He'd actually scaled back a number so one of the reasons why the Palisades, for example, is no longer covered by the bill in its current form is because of these changes he made. So, that I had pushed him to make. So I continue to not be in support of it. He needs at the end of the day, whether the bill gets through with my vote is whether I vote for it or not. I hear you on wanting me to be a no vote, as opposed to not, to not, just not voting for it. But gosh, the baby's so intense today. She's stressed out about the bill. But
Your assistant, right?
I know exactly.
Right.
But I think it's a good question. I mean, on it from my perspective, it had to do with him having scaled back the bill considerably from where it was. Though again, it still goes too far from my perspective. But it really, I mean, in its original form, it would have had a direct impact on the Palisades right now, as opposed to the potential. I heard Chris, I think, or someone else talk about how it could potentially impact the Palisades in the future. But in its original form, it would have directly impacted the Palisades immediately. And I appreciated him scaling it back.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Miriam?
Sue, my comments might be long, so I don't mind if you wait and call on me later. I wanted to address a few of the things that came up in the last 10 minutes. Some of them Diane and some of them others. So yes, there are quite a few organizations that have cropped up since the fire. One of them is the Pali Recovery Coalition. So Diane, you saw that banner in the Pali in that place that I think you drove by on Sunset Boulevard. So we went to the Santa Monica parade. We had a banner, and when the parade was done, we brought the banner to that location because that's the location that we've been able to secure for LAPD. So it's their new stop-in station. They have a key to go in there. They're the only people who use it, but that's where our banner went. That has nothing to do with almost anything else that was mentioned. So there are people whose homes survived and they're trying to repopulate. So we realize that. The Recovery Coalition actually has something called the Comeback Club, where we encourage people to come together once a month, talk about the concerns they have as people who have survived. And as the council member says, are trying to piece their lives back together in Pacific Palisades, while we know that construction is going to pick up. And this is going to be, as she always says, the biggest construction zone in the history of Los Angeles. At the same time, we've come to the table with other Palisadians and we've talked about what that looks like. So rebuilding 5,000 homes is not going to be easy. Just today, we were on a call with LAPD, Caltrans, CHP, and the Army Corps of Engineers, and everybody was saying that in order to use Chautauqua to both go up and come down for those heavier trucks and for the construction trucks, it is going to be gridlock, especially coming down, because merging into PCH is going to be a challenge. What are we going to do? That's just the beginning. There are going to be so many challenges with rebuilding, just materials. So the idea of the authority, Senator Allen talks about keeping the price of commodities down or materials down. So that's one of the things we talk about. We say if you're going to rebuild 5,000 homes, the price of things is going to go up. How do we keep it down? Well, maybe if we had money, not me, but maybe if the authority had money, it would buy things. And so the price of those commodities would stay stable. It would be the same with properties. They're not, nobody out there is saying that anybody's going to buy property and upzone it. Zoning is something that goes through the city process. Nobody has the right to upzone us, but none of these things relate. So I was going to suggest maybe we take the recording, Sue, of this meeting, or at least some of the questions that were posed, and we try to answer them in a way that's, that people can read and digest. Because this way, it's just a series of questions that get tossed up and we try to answer them. One of them is, why are there so many organizations? I don't know, but I know they're all doing something and they're trying to do some good. We talk about having an organization summit where all of these people come together and we try to figure out what it is that everybody's doing, so there isn't such confusion. But things are different and there's a huge learning curve around the corner, and everybody's trying to deal or at least address a part of it. And as far as I can tell, nobody's nefarious. Nobody's trying to do anything like pull a fast one. But we're all working on some aspect of this recovery. And it would be probably interesting to have a summit and have us answer some questions.
Okay. Thank you, Miriam. Appreciate it. And that wasn't too long. That was good. Chris Spitz?
Yeah, I'll be short too. And yeah, I hope, and really my question was, Senator Allen, I think your staff, or maybe even you, had indicated there might be a town hall that you might sponsor, which could be the sort of summit that we're talking about. So hopefully that can be arranged soon, so we can start working on these issues. And of course, I know you've indicated you might return to the PPCC Rebuild Committee, so they could do some more nitty-gritty work on what might be needed for this potential authority. So that'll be welcome as well. The other thing I wanted to follow up on was Andrew's comments, which I totally appreciate, and at one point shared even more fully than what I'm now stating. But I have learned recently, and Senator Allen, correct me if I'm wrong, that really the NVR, or the no vote recorded votes, are the equivalent of a no vote, because the fact that you have to achieve a certain number for the majority for the motion to go for the bill to go forward, and so the MVR doesn't contribute to that. So it's the equivalent of a no vote. And at times at PPCC under our bylaws, we have the same rules, an abstain or an MVR.
It's absolutely right. And it's a weird part of the Sacramento culture, but you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Thank you. That's all I want to say. Thanks so much. Hopefully we can arrange for that town hall, or whatever you want to call it, summit, or some sort of meeting sometime soon. Thanks.
I love that. In fact, Tracy and I were just on the phone earlier today talking about maybe doing it together.
That would be great. Court Wagner. And if Court doesn't come on, next in line is Reza. Reza, why don't you go, because Court isn't.
All right, sorry about that.
Oh, wait.
Court Wagner here. Nice to speak with all of you on a number of the coalitions to try to help build this town as we're all going through it. Senator Allen, Tracy Parks, and everybody involved, thank you in advance for all your efforts. It is tireless efforts, and everybody is, I think, on the same page and trying to bring our town back together. A couple of things. I'm in the debt space on the residential side, mortgage debt space, and have been for 30 years. Senator Allen, directed to you a little bit. What would be very helpful, because I've spoken to hundreds of people who are, deficient of $500,000 or $1 million to get back into their homes. Insurance has been a bad stopgap for so many people, and I'm hearing from most of the people that there is a big gap between where they need to be and what the insurance will probably end up covering. And I'm hearing in the neighborhood of $500,000 to $1 million to $1.5 million for these people to be able to build back what they had, because insurance has been such a bit of a quagmire, as I'll use that gently, for everybody involved, including myself. My house survived, but I ended up saving 5 homes, spraying hoses all night. That's a whole nother story. But in the debt space, I think a funding facility is going to allow people and the residents to make the decisions that they can make and repopulate the city, because I think so many people are leaving and giving up. I think the hope is diminished for so many people that I speak to, especially the elderly or the retired, in their ability to financially get back into town. So a funding facility is a huge priority, I think, for everybody, and how we approach that so people can make the right decisions. And in second thoughts, and very quickly, in getting the town back together, yes, I'll be moving back into my house in a couple of months, and having a town with a market and the ability to drive on the road safely. We spoke about that. Miriam Zara and I and the commission this morning had a long meeting with the LAPD and everybody engaged, and we're trying to get the roads cleared up as soon as we can. The cones removed. Speed limits would be very helpful to bring them back up between Sunset going south on PCH to either 35 or 40 or 45 miles per hour, because everybody that now lives in the Palisades and is reoccupying has to go to Santa Monica, which is the nearest functioning city, or Malibu, to be able to get groceries, see the doctors, get their whatever, dry cleaning, and live their lives, right? So having PCH at 25 miles per hour with CHP ticketing everybody is really a problem. So that's the end of my comments, and thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, Court. Reza?
Thank you, Sue. Senator, we've spoken before, and actually following up with what Court just talked about, as a builder in this community, one of the #1 problems is people's shortfall. There are 2 big problems that are now, and then one that they'll be eventual. And those two big problems are their current mortgages. And I know that Assemblymember Irwin started something where it would help people freeze their mortgages, but no one's ever followed up on that conversation, and it didn't get out of committee. And that would have really helped a lot of people because they need that mortgage relief and they're not getting it. Banks are demanding payment right now. Banks are demanding it from me personally too. So I feel their pain as a builder, and that's one level of it. The next level of it, I want you to really understand this, is the next level of it is insurance. State Farm is not paying people. And I know you have a good relationship with the commissioner, but State Farm, we've submitted budgets for people, and State Farm constantly rejects our budgets, even when we follow dwelling A, and then we follow extended, and then code enforcement. They're forcing people to use an antiquated system called Estimatex, and it's devastating and it's heartbreaking for people. And they shouldn't, after losing their homes, they shouldn't go through this process. And I just want to reiterate something I told you, I think it was last week, and I think it resonates, and the councilwoman knows this ever so well. We're all still devastated. We lost. And the Blue Ribbon Commission says nothing about our devastation and doesn't give us any answers or reassurances that this will not happen again. For example, brush clearance on state land happening, building a 30-foot barrier from state land into public land. A great example behind the efforts of people like David Card and Bureau of Engineering, Pedro Garcia, when they did Portero Canyon, that canyon that goes down to the ocean, along all the homes along the rim, they built a fire barrier wall. And so what that meant was nothing over 18 inches in that area. And why isn't the state doing that with brush? I have potential rebuild on Monument. He watched in horror as cameras, on his cameras, as the fire came up from the back of the hillside, not because he didn't do brush clearance, but because the state of California did not do brush clearance. And these are things that need to get addressed. These are the things. And why, okay, you want to blame the climate, fine, but we still need answers. We need to make sure we have water. We need the other reservoir to work. We need more water. And if we need money for that reservoir, it needs to happen. And my biggest last comment, and I apologize, Sue, for going on, my last comment to you, Senator, is that as a builder, my biggest fear, LADWP says they're going to start undergrounding in January. My biggest fear is when I'm building on a street, DWP decides they're going to tear open that street to underground. What's going to happen to where all my workers, my project that'll take me 10 months will now be delayed by 3 months because DWP has now decided that they're going to tear open the street? This will be a logistical nightmare. And these are the kinds of things that if your bill quickly gave them funds to underground, the mayor's not going to do it. The 14 other council members are not going to do it. Our only hero is Tracy Park, and the other 14 council members, I'm just going to say it, they're not going to do it for us. So I urge you, Senator, please, like these are the issues that we need help on right now, desperately. People need the reassurances. And the last thing, I apologize, the very last thing is having insurance for us when we finally rebuild for our neighbors and ourselves, so that we will have insurance in place, that we'll know, not better than California Fair Plan, something in place just for us that we know that we're going to be able to be insured in a healthy way. People need reassurances right now. People need help. We need to know that there is a future for us and the hydrants are going to work. I mean, I can go into it more, and I'm happy to meet with Sam. I'm boots on the ground every day in the Palisades. I'm holding people's hands through the rebuild process. I've learned so much in these 6 months, and I'm happy to help anybody and share it with you to have the right kind of things to get it done right now, please. Thank you. And I'm sorry I went so.
Thank you, Reza. Okay, I'm going to take only two more. I'm going to take Donna and then Miriam. And please, guys, if you could keep it very, very brief, because we have another section of the meeting to get to.
Very quickly, Senator Allen, has there been any dialogue between the city planning department, Bertoli's office, and the community plan that was supposed to come to us before the fire in about 2 or 18 months? I haven't heard any discussion of this, and how is this going to affect what the city is the Recode LA and their interest in increasing density? Again, an authority could help manage and protect this, but what's happening with the city and where are they in this process for us?
I presume that's more of an answer for a question for
Yeah, Tracy, unfortunately, Councilwoman Park had to leave. So Donna, if you want, why don't you put that in the chat? We'll print it out tomorrow and I'll get it to someone in her office.
Great, thank you.
That's a city question. Okay. Okay, Miriam, is your hand still up?
I'll just say this, Sue, thank you so much. I know how hard it is to stay with time at these meetings. So first of all, Senator Allen is going to be in town on the morning of the 22nd. Tuesday the 22nd, he's coming to Pacific Palisades. He's coming to the middle of the village. He's going to, you can speak for yourself, Senator Allen, but he's going to visit the substation and we're going to give him some coffee, hopefully at Garden Cafe. He's bringing his friend, Senator Aisha Wahab. The two of them came to the Palisades just a few days after the fire, Sue. You'll remember that because we took him on a tour. They're coming back 6 months later to see what's happened. Obviously, they'll get to see just how much debris clearance was done. And then maybe we can also learn from them the package of bills that they've put forward in these 6 months. It wasn't just SB 79 and 549. There were others. So maybe we can learn from them. We can also talk about some of these red herrings that are out there. So insurance, for example, we at the Pali Recovery Coalition hold charrettes. These are neighborhood charrettes. So we go from area to area. And what we're trying to do is to get people to come to the table and talk about what it looks like when you rebuild, when you resolve to rebuild with resilience, right? There are some trade-offs maybe that you'll make. Maybe, you know, one of the things that the Blue Ribbon Commission suggested was that we don't build every single piece of property. So maybe we create these natural fire breaks. I don't know. There are a lot of ideas on the table. One of the tables talks about insurance. How do we bring insurance back to the table? Senator Allen has promised to bring at least Ricardo Lara to the table so we can figure out how to rebuild with insurance in the conversation so that they can tell us what kind of resilience we need in order to be able to be insured on the other end. We've also talked about community resilience, right? So it's not just your home, but if the entire area had some sort of technology enabled system that adds to our resilience, that might encourage insurers to come to the table. So we're working on all of these things. This is what the Pali Recovery Coalition does. There are other organizations that are doing other things. There's got to be a way for everybody to engage and understand that the easy narratives you hear online are usually not true. This idea that there are people waiting at the gates to bring us homeless housing is probably the short version of something that isn't actually happening, and it's got more nuance. So I encourage everybody to get involved. As far as last thing, I'll be quick, city council and, you know, the state and the county, these are all different bodies, right? These are all different legislative lawmaking bodies. They have different people on them. City council is 15 people. To pass a vote at city council, you need 7 allies. You need, you know, your council member and 7 allies. Over at the county, there's 5 of them. In the state, as you just heard, it's a different process. We're looking at all of these levels of government to do something for us, right? There's a climate resilience district making its way through city council. It'll need 8 votes. There was this authority making its way through state. It was so that the county could bring its resources to the table so that we could rebuild. We probably need all of these things and some. So before we go shooting ourselves in the foot, we should really, really try to inform each other. At forums like this, PPCC is the best place to go to get information, and then opine versus just jumping at the easiest narrative. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Okay, I'm going to ask now for the government reps who are still with us if they could give brief updates. So is our Senior Lead Officer Espen on the call? Okay, I don't think so. And I know Arus is not on the call. And Tracy was here for quite a while, so if Juan is on one, I think we've already had all the updates from your office unless you can think of something else.
Hey Sue, just real quick, the only thing I would add on our end is we have been working closely with RAP. We did get a lot of parents that reached out about the playground and some of the concerns about just the design. So stay tuned. At the next PAB meeting, RAP and the mayor's office and everyone will be listening to a lot of some of those concerns to see if they can make some adjustments. But just wanted to that's the only thing I would add to the councilwoman's report from earlier, as I was sitting in on those meetings just before this one. We did get a lot of emails from parents and different constituents in the Palisades about design and what that process was like, and we voiced those to RAP, and they've also been listening. So I'd say if you're available to join the PAB meeting on, I think Tuesday the 22nd, they will be providing some updates, and that would be a good forum for community members that have any questions regarding process, how the design changed, and all of that to join that meeting and provide some feedback there. And as always, reach out to myself and Arus. As you know, Arus is out this week, but she'll be back on Monday. And yes, just provide some feedback. Other than that, the councilwoman covered everything, I think. On
Okay,
that
thank
end.
you. I just want to add one thing to what, to what you just said. There might be design problems that some people have seen, but I just want you to know that I went to the park this week and got out of the car, and we took a video of a young child playing in the new equipment with a mom, and it just really warmed our hearts to see that happening after what we've been through. So it's all going to be positive, I think.
I agree with you on that, Sue. I just wanted a voice in
Yeah.
terms of a lot of what's came in this week in that sense,
Yeah.
on the ground. So thank you for that.
I get it. Okay, thank you. Marion Ensley from the mayor's office actually was on the call tonight. She's had to leave, but she did let us know this week that she will no longer be the West Area representative for Mayor Bass. She has a new post. The name of that is Deputy Director for Recovery and Community Engagement for the Palisades. So that is Marion Ensley's new job. There is a new rep, Constantine Hatcher. I don't know if you are on the call tonight or not. Okay, so there's no one from the mayor's office who's here any longer. How about Zach Gazek? Zach, are you here from Supervisor Horvath's office?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. Hi.
Good evening, everyone. I'll keep it short and sweet, and I'll send something in writing for Sue to post later on. So just a main Palisades thing. We passed a motion earlier this week to waive the parking fees for the private security the city of LA is currently providing to the Palisades. I wanted to clarify the motion that was mentioned earlier on in the meeting. The motion directs County Council to report back on the legal viability of Los Angeles County serving as a rebuilding authority in coordination with willing cities impacted by Palisades and Eaton fires, as well as the December 2024 Franklin fire. The idea being that if this is where we want to go based on conversations with the community, with our partners at the state and the city, we want to understand legally what is the process for doing this. And that's why she had that motion. There was no motion to just blindly adopt all the recommendations of the Blue Ribbon Commission. The point of getting those recommendations was to hear recommendations, but we now are at the place of figuring out what and how we implement things, and not everything that was recommended can or should be implemented in every single place. When we talk about the Rebuilding Authority, I also just want to clarify that that meeting we held last week was the beginning of the conversation. There is a lot more conversation that needs to happen, that we want to happen with the Palisades community, as well as with the Malibu community, the Sunset Mesa communities, their unincorporated LA County, and is going to be happening on the other side in the Eaton Fire with the Altadena communities and those communities. We're still at that place of having those conversations and figuring out what this looks like. What's the structure? How can we ensure that there is community at the table making the decisions that will affect the community? And as the senator said, and I'm going to say again, there's no changes to zoning in this rebuild authority whatsoever. That is not something that frankly, we need to do or would want to do as part of this. The goal is to make it faster, cheaper, easier to rebuild and bring people home. That's the goal here. I put my email address in the chat, so I'll put it in again. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thanks so much. I have one more quick question. Someone asked me this week if the county was going to be responsible for clearing debris from the parkways.
I got that email. Let me double check and I will get right back to you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. What about Sean Reagan from Congressman Brad Sherman's office? Are you here?
Hey, Beth. Oh, stop call. Yeah.
I don't believe that's Sean. Okay, we're gonna move on. Sophia Liebman, we welcomed you tonight, and I think we've heard
Are
so
you
much
too?
throughout. Do you have anything more that you'd like to add?
Oh, and
How'd you hit? Did you win?
Okay, can we get
You
everybody
did?
on mute, please?
No.
I don't
You
have
didn't
anything.
win?
My colleague Sam is.
we're just like practicing, right?
Okay.
Person on the square, MZD, please mute yourself.
Sue, you can mute him.
Okay, well, I can't.
Media volume set to 0%.
Okay, I can't. Okay, all right, I got him.
What were you trying to do?
Okay, I found him. Okay. Anthony Avila, are you here from Assembly Member Jackie Irwin's office?
Not here.
Not here. Okay, I think Allison is here.
I'm
Allison.
here.
Hi.
So I want to start off. I'm Allison Holder, Paul Hill Palisadian, but also here on behalf of LAUSD board member Nick Melvoin. And I have super exciting news. Nick Melvoin and his wife Kimberly Winter had their first child yesterday, a baby boy, Hugo.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I want to lead with that. And
Congratulations.
Yeah.
and we are all very excited. I also want to let you know that there are we've had 17 community engagement meetings about the 3 school rebuilds, Marquez, Palisades Elementary, and Pali High. We did so by sending the flyers to all of these 10 entities that are representing the Palisades in various ways. So I'd recommend that course of action. But we have another one for Marquez, a design meeting for the whole community on July 23rd at 6 p.m. And I think I sent you all the flyer, but I'll make sure that's dropped. And Palisades Elementary will be on July 24th at 6 p.m. Then we're going to have 3 additional meetings that will be specific to environmental and safety concerns about reoccupying the schools, what we're doing in the interim, sharing all of our tests from our Office of Health Environmental Science. So that is for the 3 builds, Marquez, Pali Elementary, and Pali High. Revere was the host with the most with the 4th of July, as we know, and they continue to be such a giving school at this time by hosting a lot of the Pali High athletics, by hosting the 4th of July. They hosted Theater Palisades over the summer. But I also want to give a special shout out to Brett Shibata, their head counselor, who throughout this fire, from day one, when he knew that a lot of us had lost every single thing, having our homes destroyed, collected photos of kids, created packets for every single family that he knew lost their home, so they have pictures of their children. He's been able to go back and scan class photos, scan yearbooks. So big shout out to Brett Shibata for really easing the pain. And then finally, Palisades High School is having their orientation, a welcome back webinar on August 5th. August 8th is the 10th through 12th graders orientation, and August 7th is the 9th graders. And I think you all know this, but Pali High will remain at the Sears building until at least after Thanksgiving. Marquez will be coming back possibly earlier in the fall, but we don't know exactly when. And if you go by there, Sam Logano has reported it. I've seen it firsthand. We've got the bungalows down, we've got the yard down, but again, no one's going to go there until everyone deems it's safe to do so. And I think those are all my reports.
Thank you so much. And please tell Nick, congratulations from all of us. That's so exciting.
I will.
That's really cool. Okay, that is the end of our reports from advisors. And now we're going to move on to PPCC committee reports. The first one is the rebuild committee, and I believe David Schwartz is online and would like to say something. I had something to read, but David, if you're going to do it, I will not have to read that Quentin gave me.
I'm happy to, and in brief, let me first say the NORC study is moving apace. It's completed the 6 focus groups, and it yielded a lot of really interesting information. Purpose of which was to help shape the survey, the questions themselves that will be asked. The survey is now in the process of being drafted. It's going to take a couple of weeks, and it's going to require a fair amount of, I think, discussion within the rebuild committee, but we ultimately will defer to NORC. Nonetheless, we are learning from them based on a lot of their data harvesting that they believe that they're going to be able to get an extraordinarily high coverage in terms of soliciting responses from the community. The numbers are changing daily, but right now they believe they have live and current information to contact by email or text over 8,000 of the roughly 11,000 residences.
Wow.
It's critical because the better, the more dense and the more variegated the information is based on demographics from 8 different sections of our community, looking at it from people who lost homes, who didn't lose homes, as well as other demographic data. It's going to give us a lot more information and hopefully a better and more defensible study. I just want to make one point. It's late in the evening. There's been an awful lot of talk about rebuild authorities. And it's a topic that the rebuild committee has been given a fair amount of focus on. I just want to say that rebuild the special districts, authorities, joint powers authorities have been around in California since 1887. There are over 3,000 of them, and they range from everything from water districts to mosquito abatement to school libraries to big cross-jurisdictional projects, including flood control and the like. The primary reason why districts of this nature are created is to have a standalone political subdivision that can raise money by floating debt. And it is, in my judgment, and this is just me speaking personally, that I believe that I concur with Donna, that I think that some form of authority is not only going to be helpful, but I think it's critical for our ability to jumpstart this rebuild. Why? Because if we do not have funds adequate to deal with the massive infrastructure challenges facing us, we will be lagging. There are developers and homeowners and everyone around who understand that the quicker we assess and address the water, sewer, electrical, fire hydrants, and the like, we deal with these problems and we fix them, the quicker rebuilding will get going and the more incentive there will be for people to do it and to do it in a right, resilient way. Everything is driven by that, including insurance, because insurability of properties is going to be relating directly to the resilience of the community. And that in turn talks about and depends on how good a job we do with respect to funding this. Now, I am not suggesting that the rebuild, that a district, whatever label you would put on it, sole function is to raise money for purposes of funding this. There are going to be, we hope, multiple sources of funding and multiple kinds of funding. It could be direct funds from SBA loans. Some people have gotten it from HUD, et cetera, et cetera. There may be loans and loan guarantees that come in to help backstop this kind of municipal finance. It's complicated, but it's really the number one job of any authority. That said, I also believe that the authority has a role to play, potentially a significant role to play in dealing with this massive logistical challenge. More will be said about that later, but I want to, my hope here was to help a little bit reset the table by making it clear to all of you that the ability to fund this is going to drive a lot of what we end up doing. I would ask all of you to do the following. Last month, with great fanfare, the mayor announced that she had selected AECom for purposes of assisting in long-term planning. Well, at the time that announcement was made, there was no contract from AECon. We're a month later, we still haven't seen that. Now, I've been told that a contract has been signed today, but it is a drop in the bucket, and it may at most get us to a place where we should have been 3, 4, 5 months ago. We still do not have an infrastructure damages assessment. And without that, we are unable to really figure out and size the economic project before us. So I'd urge all of you to speak with Marion or whoever else is the interface with the city council and with the mayor, and ask them to get going on that project. If we do not know what the shape of the problem is and the magnitude of the damage, then we are at a loss to really figure out how we're going to go about funding it. Thank you very much, and I want to say, as always, I am moved by the stories that I've heard. Bonnie, in particular, yours resonated deeply with me, but I know there's so many of you out there that feel that way, and it just renews my own interest and desire to try to get something done here. So God bless you all, and have a good night.
Thank you so